This crazy killer is calling the police on herself. Have you ever wondered what goes on in the mind of a criminal? What drives someone to commit a heinous act and then call the police on themselves? Today, we dive into the twisted tale of Courtney Clenny, a woman whose relationship with her boyfriend took a dark and violent turn. On the 3rd of April in 2022, the Miami Police Department received a frantic phone call detailing a serious occurrence. A young man called Christian Toby Obamaselli, who was 27 years old, was found in a badly injured condition with a knife wound to the chest as he sought consolation in the arms of his girlfriend. This wound was discovered when he was located in a severely wounded form. When law officials arrived at the scene, the property had a significant amount of blood staining, which was an indication of how serious the situation was. Meanwhile, Toby's tenuous hold on life was growing increasingly dangerous. It was the year 2020 when Toby and Courtney Clenny, a person noted for her presence on the website known as OnlyFans, came into contact with one another. However, behind the scenes of their personal life was a completely other reality, which gave the impression that their relationship was marked by intense devotion. Their interactions were frequently marked by periods of severe violence, which resulted in the participation of law enforcement on many occasions. However, their most recent disagreement, which took place in April of 2022, was the one that led to the situation where Toby was on the verge of death and passionately asking for his survival. When questioned by the authorities, Courtney denied having any part of the incident. Nevertheless, their interpretation was different. As an immediate consequence of this, she was brought in for an examination that went on for a sum of 5 hours. The investigators let Courtney know that Toby was taken to the hospital, but that he was still alive. It is best practice to begin a conversation with the suspect by calming any anxieties they may have and using an approach that is not accusatory. This is because detectives generally stay confused about how a suspect will react to particular facts. This strategy helps to establish a more calm environment, which increases the possibility that the suspect will open up to the police. Even though the investigators had a feeling that Courtney was vulnerable, their first goal was to solve the crime. Courtney was under investigation for allegedly stabbing Toby, and her only explanation thus far was that a furious fight erupted and escalated out of control. However, this explanation was not enough to clear her name. If the allegations are true, then forcing Courtney to think about her past and future with Toby will have a significant impact on her feelings, making her more vulnerable and maybe making it easier for her to admit the truth. To summarize, Courtney related how she and Toby got into a fight when they stopped communicating their common phone locations, which resulted in Toby holding Courtney down on the floor and restraining her. As a means of self-defense, Courtney retaliated by tossing a kitchen knife across the room, which finally struck Toby in the chest. It's vital to take note that Courtney made an unmistakable statement that she was acting with good reason in her story. She emphasized the specific act of throwing a knife across a distance of 10 feet, which resulted in a direct and significant injury that put Toby's life in jeopardy. In addition, the couple had been through another terrifying ordeal in Las Vegas a little over a year earlier. After a furious argument that was followed by the sound of glass being shattered against walls and the floor, the authorities were called to their apartment to investigate the situation. Both the state of the flat when the police arrived, which showed a large amount of chaos, and Courtney's description of the events were unorganized. From that point onward, Courtney was captured and held in confinement for a time of 12 hours. In any case, Toby chose not to press charges against her and on second thought attempted to get her out. The fact that the police came to the conclusion that Courtney had attacked Toby by throwing a glass toward his head that evening is noteworthy, despite the fact that it may not appear to be relevant. This event provides proof that Courtney was capable of initiating an unprovoked attack on Toby, so offering a whole different viewpoint for the inquiry that is now taking place. In any case, it worked out that the police had been in touch with the couple in the relatively recent past also. Unbeknownst to them, the safety faculty of the high-rise had reached them the day preceding the attack. In striking differentiation to Courtney's form of occasion, the answering cops promptly enacted their body cameras to record the aggregate of their contact with the suspect. The camera tape shows Courtney in an apparent state of severe fear, with her primary worry appearing to be seeking a restraining order before Toby does so, rather than concentrating on any potential injury she may have incurred. It is essential to note that the building security saw Courtney violently shove Toby out of the elevator and yell at him, despite the fact that they observed no evidence of hostility coming from Toby's side of the altercation. There is a rising possibility that Courtney's story about how she acted in self-defense may be a little off base in comparison to the facts as they emerge from the gathering evidence, which is becoming more substantial. The fact that the information is still mostly dependent on hearsay, as is typical in circumstances like these, makes it difficult for the investigators to decisively refute her assertions. Despite this, they regrouped with Courtney in the interrogation room after being alone for a considerable amount of time and having the opportunity to change their clothing before sharing some information with her. The manner in which the detectives reacted clearly suggests that they had a significant amount of faith in the veracity of the self-defense scenario. In point of fact, one of them had earlier assured her that everything would be okay and conveyed optimism over her release on that very same evening. As an outcome of this, it didn't take a lot of work with respect to her lawyer to officially persuade them regarding her blamelessness, which brought about her being excused with practically no charges being recorded against her. In any case, it ought to be drawn out into the open that the analysts had no earlier information on any of the material that had been introduced up to this point. Their information came only from Courtney, therefore it was the only source of their knowledge. The passage of time resulted in the accumulation of a large quantity of evidence, which considerably strengthened the alibi. Because of the proliferation of body cam footage, these films are now available to the general public, which has shed light on the circumstances surrounding Courtney's prior arrests. In addition, there were recordings that were not complimentary of her, such as the one in which she looked to be under the influence of alcohol in a public environment just a few days after being freed. Conducting oneself in such a manner so soon after emotionally breaking down during an interrogation does not throw a good light on one's character, even if it is unusual for people to make errors and consume excessive amounts of alcohol. It wasn't until a few days later that it was found out that Toby's phone had been hiding a covertly filmed video. Courtney may be heard on the video recording yelling angrily at Toby, using strong language, physically abusing him by slapping him in the face, and making offensive racist comments. As a consequence of this, Toby's family made the decision to file a lawsuit against Courtney, since multiple other witnesses corroborated her position as the principal aggressor. A medical examiner looked over Toby's remains and came to the conclusion that he had committed himself after conducting an autopsy. Courtney is currently, as of April 2023, awaiting what is widely considered to be one of the most hotly awaited trials in recent memory. Because of her conviction for homicide and the subsequent degree, she is confronting the gamble of serving the remainder of her life in jail. As we hang tight for the choice that will decide if she will use whatever's left of her life in a correctional facility, the visualization doesn't look great when we think about the pile of proof that focuses against her. As we come to the end of this gripping tale, the question still lingers in the air. What really happened that fateful day? Was Courtney acting in self-defense, or was there a darker motive behind her actions? The trial awaits, and the truth will soon be revealed.